and welcome to the Fertility Conversations podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create more awareness about infertility and to provide support to people trying to conceive. Thank you for listening today, and we hope you will be encouraged. And now, here is your host, Ola.
Welcome to another episode of Fertility Conversations. Today we're joined by a lovely guest, Hannah Scott. Hannah is a 42-year-old and she struggled to conceive on her own for 10 years before turning to surrogacy to have her children. She now works for Juno, which is a surrogacy agency in Tbilisi, Georgia, helping other couples from all over the world who want to achieve their goal of parenthood. So welcome, Hannah, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yay. So to start off, we usually say, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, I'm 42. I have a son born by surrogacy in Georgia, Tbilisi, Georgia, in 2020. I also have twins due via a second surrogate in November. So it's going to be a busy time for me.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you. Well, I struggled for such a long time. So as you say, 10 years of infertility before looking into surrogacy and finally taking the plunge. So it was probably one of the best things I ever done to finally get my family.
Wow, wonderful. That's amazing. And with surrogacy, lots of people always wonder, they think even I, like when you go on the internet, it's always so out of reach, right? Because usually we look at the cost in the US and people say over $100,000, sometimes $150,000.
Yeah.
So how is it in Georgia? Is it much more affordable than that?
It is. So you're looking around, but anywhere between $31,000 to $36,000 for a program. To give you an idea, if you're transporting embryos, you'd be looking around $31,000 for a program with frozen embryos. If you're using an egg donor, you're looking around about $39,000-$40,000. This includes surrogates compensation, all the medicals. If you're using your own eggs, you're looking around $37,000 for a program. This would include one embryo transfer.
Right, okay.
But obviously you wouldn't pay the whole amount again. If you wasn't successful in your first try, you would only pay the medical side of an embryo
Oh.
transfer and preparation for the surrogate. So it's probably a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Definitely. That sounds way cheap. Yeah.
The cost of living in Georgia is much less than the UK and USA. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, you also highlighted the fact that people can transport the embryos then.
Yes.
So if they already had IVF done elsewhere.
Exactly. So now Georgia is pretty particular in their paperwork. Everything is above board. So the paperwork for transporting embryos is very strategic. We have a lawyer though, so they make sure that everything is completed correctly before you send your embryos. So you have no issues later on down the line. So I think lately there's been a much tighter procedure with paperwork because of Ukraine situation. We have a lot more biological material entering the country. They have tightened the rules quite a lot, but it's definitely possible because we have a lawyer that deals with that side of the paperwork. So it's not an issue if you do want to transport your own embryos. Okay,
that's good to know.
The only thing if you're using a donor egg, then we have to have the authority from the donor to use the donor egg. If their own egg, then absolutely fine, it's not a problem. But we do, anonymous donors in Georgia are not allowed. So we have to have a POA, a power of attorney, just to say, yes, this donor is allowing for you to use these embryos.
Oh, I see. So then if someone came and had the cycle in Georgia then and was going to use a donor, you're able to do that as well. Like you're able to get a donor.
It's a much easier process if you can.
All right.
Georgia, but some people don't have that option, and they've already made embryos, sort of, you know, and maybe their age is not allowing them to create anymore. So some people don't have that option. But yes, coming to Georgia is a much easier option paperwork wise, definitely.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. And I noted actually on your website as well that you have, because, you know, with the cost of surrogacy and even IVF, oftentimes people wonder that it seems like you're just gambling away the money, right? Without any form of guarantees whatsoever. But I noted on your website that you also have a guaranteed program.
We do.
Can you share more about that?
So I actually did a guarantee program myself, because after so many years, you don't know where you are or what's happening or what's going on. So I just wanted to have, you know, that stability of being able to have a child at the end, whatever that may be. So the guarantee program gives you the chance of doing 2 egg retrievals yourself and using all of those viable embryos before having to move to donor eggs. So if you've got 2 egg retrievals and you get, let's say, 5 or 6 eggs, you can use those embryos to see if you can have success, but you must be willing to move to a donor egg, because it does include unlimited transfers, unlimited IVF, unlimited donor, unlimited NICU care if you end up having twins, which sometimes you may need the NICU care. So it's an all-in-one, everything is included. You pay no extra cost, which is only guarantee. If you don't have success after 2 egg retrievals, you do need to move to that donor egg.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the donor egg option, like you've noted, there's unlimited options even with that.
Yeah, even with that, it's unlimited everything. So it's basically, we call it the live birth guarantee, because at some point you're going to have a baby, whether it be through your own biological material or whether it be a donor egg, you know, it's going to happen. So I think that's what I liked about that program, was that I knew that it was going to happen at some point. If it didn't happen on the first go, then, you know, I've got as many chances as I need to get my end goal.
Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing to have that option. And especially because oftentimes people will spend so much money and
exactly
much emotions invested.
Well, we've already spent thousands and thousands of pounds. So, you know, if we do the guaranteed option, we know we're paying a fixed amount, but we know we're not paying any more after that. And that's the final thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So what other services do you provide at Juno? Just for anyone listening, wondering your range.
Yeah, so we're basically sort of we're an agency, and we provide the full service. So we're matching with the surrogate, the medical programs, whether that be your own eggs or donor eggs. Looking after the surrogates, obviously, is a huge thing, and also the intended parents, because this is their journey as well as the surrogate's journey. So we like to include them as much as possible. Having, you know, if Georgians don't speak a lot of English, if any, so we make sure we have the translator so you can talk to your surrogate, so you're feeling a part of it the whole time, you know. We also do PGS testing, donor genetic testing. We can do a really in-depth donor genetic testing if that's the way you want to go. Our donors are genetically tested, but if you want to do a very in-depth one, then we can do that as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. And if anyone wants to use the services, how best should they contact you?
Probably best by email. So surrogacygeorgia@outlook.com. Or we're on our Instagram as well. You can get us on our Instagram at Juno Surrogacy Georgia. We'll always get back to you, and always happy to send you information, or have a call and run through things with you on your own particular journey. So yeah, we're very happy to connect.
Thank you for that. And actually, just to confirm, because I know that you said you can have embryos transferred into Georgia.
Yes.
What about, is there the option of your surrogates or egg donors traveling to other countries where the intended parents might be?
No, we do everything in Georgia. Because of the notary contracts and the legal side of it, we keep everything Georgia, so we know it's all legal and above board.
Okay. And is this surrogacy for single men or single women looking to
Yes.
be parents?
We are partnered with a company in Mexico that we help our single men and women, and also our same-sex couples as well. So we work closely with them, and they've had good success also. So we're happy to pass their details on.
Okay, that's great. And so, of course, surrogacy is an alternative path to parenthood. And I wonder, you had your experience for 10 years trying by yourself. And of course, there's still a lot of unknowns in terms of society about surrogacy. When you knew that that was your option, did you have any concerns about having to use a surrogate?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's the unknown, isn't it? You don't know what you're going into. But I've researched. I joined Facebook groups. And talk to people, and gradually I started to feel more like, okay, this could be possible, and that's when I started to really look into the different companies and different countries as well. Now I'm not married, so me and my partner aren't married. We've been together for a very long while, but we're not married. So we originally looked at Ukraine, but obviously we couldn't go there. So my next thing was Georgia, and I didn't really know much about it at all. But after visiting, I absolutely fell in love with the country, and met the clinic and the agency, and we was very happy and very comfortable to move forward in the surrogacy world, definitely.
That's great. And now you work for them, right?
I do. No, I wasn't expecting that. But it's funny how things fall into place, and I just found this. I become so happy after having my son, and I just wanted to help other people. And the Juno it's a smaller agency. We're very family orientated. We're like a big unit family. So. And I really, really like them. I like the way they work. I like that they're transparent with everything, financially, how well they look after the surrogates, how involved I am. And I really like that. And I thought this is how it should be, when people are through a journey, because we want to be, as an IP, you want to be as part of this journey as much as possible, because it's hard enough, not carrying yourself. So being as close as you can to the process is I think is very important.
Yes, it is. And you highlighted a lot of important points there, because people, when you know that you have to opt for surrogates, so that's one of the options you need to consider. I think people often wonder, how do I know what the surrogate is eating? How do I know how they're living? How do I know their lifestyle? So in terms of Juno, how much investigation and care, or quote unquote interactions do they have with the surrogates all through the whole process?
So obviously before a surrogate becomes a surrogate, all the background checks are done. Their home, we visit their, not personally, but Juno do visit the homes of the surrogates, and the mental health as well, and making sure that they're not doing this for the wrong reasons, as in poverty. We need to make sure that they are stable and mentally stable for carrying out the whole journey for the intended parents. But the way Juno work is that we also look after the surrogates. We have a separate person who accompanies our surrogates to every scan, making sure they're okay, making sure they have all the food they need, making sure everything is perfect for them, and that they are happy on the journey also. We have to have two areas where everybody is happy.
Exactly.
It's just for the IP, it's also for the surrogate. We need to make sure the whole process and everybody involved is happy, because that's the way we get a nice healthy baby.
Definitely, yes. And when the surrogates are happy, then they're in a good state of mind, and that's also great for the baby. Exactly. And of course, that's one of the concerns of some people as well, right? Wondering to make sure that the surrogate is being taken care of properly.
I think you have to have in surrogacy world. I mean, I have found that you have to have some kind of trust. It's very hard to let the control go because you've had control over your own cycles.
Right.
And it's very hard to sort of to try and just put the trust in the agency. But as you move through the process and you understand it and you see your surrogate, you can have video calls and the translations and everything, making sure she's okay and she's happy and everything. I think the more you move through the journey, the more you trust, and the more you let things unfold. But I'm totally happy with the way my surrogates have been treated. I'm still friends with my first surrogate on Facebook.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so I always send pictures of my little boy to her, and she appreciates that as well. Yeah. I'm in contact with my surrogate now. She's lovely. So yeah, it's how much interaction that you also want to have. Not everybody wants to have full interaction with their surrogate. Some people prefer to stand back a little bit, but it's really what you prefer. But yes, definitely I am happy with the way that they are treated, for sure. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, for anyone listening, I'm sure they're happy to hear that because that's one of the concerns that people have.
Yeah, it's but from an IP's point of view, I can definitely vouch for the way that they are treated. Yeah, it's like a big family.
Great. And for someone coming to use a surrogate, can they have, like, with your services, both egg donation and a surrogate?
Yes, of course. Yes, you can do it and surrogacy. Yeah, that's probably 60% of our programs, to be honest. I think a lot of the time, by the time someone's got to the surrogacy journey, they've probably tried quite a few times with their own embryos. It depends on what the issue is, but yes, for sure, we definitely can.
Okay, and is there ever a situation where the egg donor is also the surrogate?
No, that's not. We're not allowed to do that in Georgia. Actually, it's not permitted to have the egg donor as the surrogate.
Okay, I think that's good. Anyway, because it actually takes away a lot of potential issues.
I think so. Yeah.
And with your egg donation, do you have a diverse egg donation pool, just for depending on where the person is coming from and perhaps what ethnicity they're?
We obviously have Georgian donors, we have Kazakhstan donors and Ukraine donors. So it's quite a variety we have, but we also have partnerships with traveling egg donor agencies. So have a particular look that you're looking for, or education, or whatever it may be. We can also partner up with one of our egg donor agencies, and they can find exactly what you want if you can't find it in our egg pool. So we have options everywhere. We have donors from South Africa, Asia, all over. So there's always going to be someone.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. Yeah. And do people, because I think you noted earlier that with surrogacy, you have to ask the donor if they're okay with transferring. So is the donor program in Georgia then it's not anonymous then, or is it?
Not anonymous. So you will know the name of your donor. It's anonymous because this has to go into the contracts of who your egg will be. But we do find that usually egg donors prefer to probably donate and then they sort of move away from it. They're not looking to stay in touch, if that makes sense. But they're happy for you to have their pictures and their education and how many children they have. So you have the whole profile. You get to see everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which I think is good. When you're choosing an egg donor, you do want to have some kind of knowledge of their backgrounds and things like that. So, but it's not something where you need to keep in touch with the donor, but you will have. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. And, if you had to go back to 20-year-old Hannah, what would you tell her, knowing all that you know now?
Wow. I think I think it would probably be, don't be too hard on yourself. I think for a lot of years I punished myself for not being able to carry my babies. Why me? You know, I think everyone probably has the same kind of thoughts. And I really took it quite hard for a long while. But now looking back, obviously, does it really matter how you get to the end goal? You know, if you want all your family, and you know, I'm very happy now. It's probably not the route that I thought I was going to take, but I'm completely happy and I have no regrets on what I've done. It's probably the best thing I've ever done, to be honest. So I think if I could tell my younger self, I think it would be, just don't be too hard on yourself, because we are hard on ourselves in this fertility journey. You know?
We are.
It's hard. It's very hard.
That's such an important advice. And I wonder, in terms of, you know, your fertility journey as well, how would you say that it impacted your relationships with friends, family, partner, or?
Yeah, well, I think I become quite lonely, I think, and I become quite insular, completely lost my whole personality from the fertility journey. Didn't want to go out, you know, I didn't want to see anyone that was pregnant. I didn't want anyone to ask me about babies. It really, really changed me for many years. And in all honesty, I probably have only got my old self back within the last year or so. It took me a while to get back to my old self, because I think it really does take a lot out of you, not knowing which way you're going, you know. So I think it's a hard journey, and you know, only we can change that, you know. So
but it's great now, right? Like,
fantastic.
The fact that you used all of your experience and now you're helping other people.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's probably it's made me want to do that, because how my experience has been and how sad I was for 10 years of my life. And now it's, you know, I couldn't be happier. And I wished I'd have moved to surrogacy. No, maybe 5 years ago, but hey, we you know, we always want to try another one.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I wish the time, but you know, I've got that time now, and you know, it's wonderful. It really is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. And for anyone out there needing any, like, you know, any words of encouragement that you'd like to share with any person or couple currently trying to conceive?
I think it's the whole cliche, isn't it? Never give up, because when you want something so bad, you will find a way, and that way will come to you. It may not be the way that you planned, but I promise you, whatever way it will be, you're going to eventually have joy in your life, you know, whether that be donor eggs, donor sperm, surrogacy. You know, your end goal is to be a mum and a dad. So whatever way you can get there, then, you know, go for it. I think, and if surrogacy would be an option for you, you know, it brings you so much joy. So please don't disregard it. It is something that can help you if all else fails, you know?
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. And as a wrap up, is there any other information that you'd like to share with anyone listening about Juno, or anything else that you'd like them to know?
I think I probably said it in my last statement, actually. If you're thinking about surrogacy, or it's something that you would be willing to look into, you know, I'm more than happy to have a personal chat with you, just to tell you my story, my experience, how you know, how it is in the surrogacy world. What you're going to be looking into, and the legal side of it as well. I'm more than happy to chat with anyone, really. I think having the experience of it and working for an agency as well, I have both sides, so I can tell you from both sides of the pool, basically. So I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone if they are thinking of surrogacy. even if they're not looking within Georgia, if they're looking somewhere else, I'm more than happy to still have a chat with them. I think it's important to get the sides of both, definitely.
Yes. Thank you so much, Hannah.
A pleasure.
for coming on the show today and for sharing your story and your experience and just enlightening us about all the options that are available at Juno, because I think it's so important. Oftentimes you never know where to turn and where to reach out for. So it's good to see all the many options that are available at Juno, because there are so many people that are considering surrogacy or egg donation and just not really sure where to go. And oftentimes we think that surrogacy is over 100,000 because that's what we've seen in the US. So to have a much cheaper option at Juno, it's great to have that.
We can help. Definitely can help. It's been great.
Yes, thank you so much, Hannah. And we look forward to having you again in the near future.
Oh, thanks, Ola. Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fertility Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Fertility Conversations. If there are any topics you would like to have discussed, please send an email to fertilityconversations@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you again for listening. Take care of yourself and do stay hopeful.